Hello and welcome to Navigating to Success. I'm your captain today, certified focal point business coach and executive coach, Jeff Carlton. And joining me is Andrew Gordon from Helena, Montana. Um, I won't read his bio, I'll let him introduce himself. And he's got quite a background and is on quite an adventure. So, Andy, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate uh, the invite to chat with you and your network, and the curious folks out there, both near and far. So, I think, yeah, as far as my background goes, oddly enough, hometown. Hell, you said I was from Helena. That's true. Hometown, born and raised Helena guy. Typical boomerang kid. You spend the first half of your life trying to, you grow up in Montana trying to get out, and then you go have some fun and you realize how wonderful it was back home. And so you spend the next half trying to get back. So that was our story. I say our, I'm a happy family man, married 20 years, two awesome sons to show for it, and a beautiful, lovely wife, talented and much more so than me. And, I think as part of that boomerang journey professionally, grew up here, went to the University of Montana, ended up down in not too far away, Denver, Colorado. And for the first sort of half of my career, I spent in a global engineering consulting firm called CDM or CDM Smith, as it later became, which was a lot of fun. I spent 14 years doing that. I am admittedly not an engineer. I'm on the science side of things. Geospatial information technology is the tech background, and most of my time in that first half of the career was spent doing a lot of database CTL work. Certainly the fun, visual, graphical rendering of hazardous waste sites, underground water plumes, you name it. We had a lot of fun, a lot of environmental cleanup and things like that from a technical standpoint. And then what I discovered was that I really enjoyed, after a lot of face-to-face client interactions, whether it was with our government partners or with private industry folks, is I really like being out in front and I like talking to people. And so that sort of resonated with me. And so my cubicle days at that point, I think, were numbered. And so I moved back to Montana with the family. We found a path home, and in about 2014, really started my first true burn the boats entrepreneurial journey. Left the steady paycheck, founded a small mid-market M&A firm with a group of individuals, and then the rest, as they say, is history. I've done a lot of stints with my own ventures as part of other people's new startups since then, in the last 10 years or so, and mostly focused on sales and marketing roles. Um, I as you heard previously, I very much enjoy that. I still do to this day. I'm very much a people person, and establishing relationships, just as you and I have, especially from afar, is a lot of fun for me. Sometimes that's intimidating for a lot of folks out there, I know, but coming in with an open mind and an open heart, and starting with trust, I like to say, has actually taken me quite a long ways, and certainly helped with my success in my various other projects and ventures. Currently, I lead the corporate development efforts for Bloom Montana, which is the largest vertically integrated cannabis company in Montana. I also am the executive director for the Helena Regional Sports Association, and the HRSA, and we are in the process of trying to put together first of its kind regional large-scale multi-sport and events complex called the ARC, which is going to a multi-year effort if anybody's has ever tackled something like that. But it's exciting, especially because I get to try to give back to my hometown. So that's one current project I'm working on, and any other spare time that I have professionally, I'm also managing a small commercial development portfolio here in town, and I'm actually sitting in one of the buildings that we acquired last December. So got a few things cooking, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like you're boiling the ocean. Um, that's a lot going on. So, what is your primary focus, you think? What where do you spend the majority of your time?
You bet. Those last three projects increasingly are sort of as equally as possible divvied up. I know that sounds like a bit of a cop out answer, but it's true. Um, I very am judicious with my time and time spent, but in order to keep enough of those plates spinning in a positive direction and not let anything languish, I do kind of have to equally focus on all three of those items. Most of this year, I will say, the majority of time has probably been spent more stabilizing the current property that I have in downtown Helena, where I alluded to earlier that I'm sitting at the moment. But now that that's largely done and the renovations are well underway here, I've had a lot more time in the last 3 months or so to put towards both the sports complex project and then um, helping Bloom maintain and scale our position as the largest operator in the state. It's cannabis is an interesting industry to be involved with for anybody that isn't familiar. I always think of it as sort of coming from a startup background. I'm working almost in a startup industry. So it's a kind of a double dose of startup, if you will. So it's things tend to change almost by the minute. Sometimes it seems like, and we're excited for the future. As anybody that follows the space is, we'll see what our friends at the federal level do as we move forward. But even at the state level, I'd say a lot of the statutes and the legislation is always a work in progress, and so that's a heavy dose of what I get up to. Um, Certainly some buy side, sell side strategy, and sort of leading the charge there, but then also trying to figure out regulatory frameworks that would be more advantageous and help us, to help us normalize the industry, to help us get to the next level, grow beyond sort of the nascent stage into legitimate business industry as everyone else is coming to realize it is.
So, yeah, and if you're already the biggest distributor or biggest element in this entity, that's the word, entity in the state, you're actually kind of maybe defining what it's going to look like for others that follow. Um, I'm gonna go back because you said you were a family man. You've got
Yeah.
three pretty distinct um, projects that you're working on simultaneously. You kind of hit on how you're balancing between those three. How do you balance between those three business ventures and then your family? What's your tip or technique that you would share with the people out there in Podland?
100%. Awesome question. Much like I think applies to so many different situations in life. I think keeping an open communication pattern as much as possible, and perhaps depending on what my wife would say, perhaps sometime to a fault, but keeping open communications and channels clear, and then just open trust as well. Regular check-ins. It might sound like I am out and about and not available too much at home, but certainly the rest of it's just kind of when I'm not sleeping, I'm not actually out and about. I'm at home and having sort of debriefs with the wife and the kids. They're of an age. I've got a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old, and we're sort of hitting
So
the
they
what
know
I
what's
used to
going
call.
on. They get it.
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say, I always said, we'll get to this point, talking to my wife, where we'll hit what I call the rapids, and it's kind of that point where the kids start getting tired of you. You're not as cool as you used to be, and so they don't necessarily want to hang out with you too much anymore. When they need something and they need rides and they need whatnot, we do that, and we do make time. We carve out family time, but I think age bracket wise, I'm sort of lucky in that. Their expectations of wanting a lot of my time or perhaps unfortunately dwindling, but I try to be a realist about it. And then so when we do spend time together, I guess the one other tip I'd have about that is I really try to make those experiences as enriching as possible, and not too superficial. We're a family that likes to focus not so much on things but experiences together.
That's good. I appreciate that. That's and 16-year-old will come around here in a couple years, and as soon as you get out of the transportation engineering, which is what I call a fancy term for a chauffeur for a 12-year old,
That's right.
you'll get your life back. But I really appreciate it. It's very important. I think often overlooked of maintaining that healthy balance and being deliberate. about keeping your personal relationships healthy as well. Um, so I want to go back to three projects at once, and with interest rates and the economy kind of being a little bit weird, talk to me about what you feel, just philosophy on acceptable risk and estimating risk versus reward, and how far you're going to push an endeavor before you go, maybe we're not going in the right direction.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great question. So much of that is subjective, personal risk tolerance, by and large. If What I've found is any success that I've been able to muster around these projects and those that are sort of on the horizon, um, really actually has to do with the ability to surround myself with a team of people that have similar risk tolerances to mine. I am not historically a very risk averse individual, in much. It doesn't mean I'm cavalier or I take catastrophic chances or anything like that. They're always it's always informed risk taking, but having that risk tolerance and surrounding myself with a group of individuals that's willing to make a call on something with 80%, 70 to 80% of the data available to make a decision is I think the main contributing factor to my ability to operate successfully in the space. Um,
Yeah, and well, you can get into analysis paralysis, is what I call it. At some point, you have to do something because you can stare at spreadsheets for months and not get anywhere. So interesting philosophy with all three projects. I can see that there's some risk involved in there, so that's why that question kind of popped in my head. Having said that, where do you where let's start with Bloom first.
sure.
Um, where do you see Bloom, or what is your goal for Bloom in the next 12 and 36 months?
Next 12 and 36 months for Bloom are going to be amazing in my mind. We have the unique and enviable position as the largest in state and by quite a bit. I don't mind saying. So, our challenges, and our ability to meet them and successfully navigate economic uncertainty are different than some of our other cohorts, right, in state. And we're also a small market. Montana is never going to be a New York or a California or a Colorado or you name it, right? And so in the next 12 to 36 months, I see us, trying to be, well, not even trying to be, maintaining our position and reinforcing it as the most professional, most trusted vertical cannabis operators in Montana. We're not, everybody needs to make money. Everybody, needs to gain market share. Everybody needs things like that. At this point, we're at this inflection point where we really want to be and continue to be part of, the best community partners in the state. This industry has come up and faced a lot of headwinds because of, historically just being artificially suppressed, we'll call it, and sort of the cannabis boogeyman is out there. And there's certain optics around it that haven't contributed in a positive way to that. But setting the pace and setting the tone for Montana cannabis and how you should run and operate a cannabis business, not even just Montana, but across the board, that's the position that we're in right now, and that's what we're going to be able to double down on. And frankly, that's where our growth will come from. There'll be some organic growth. There's inevitable market consolidation that will take place, not just in Montana, but any of these other state markets that are out there with anybody that operates in those already or follows them. So it's going to be a mix of both of those kind of approaches to find success. But I think, again, reinforcing and building upon the brand trust and the partner for communities, and frankly the partner for our state legislature to help enforce the kind of the kind of regulatory requirements that other, consumer manufactured goods face. We're talking about
Right.
health and safety. We're talking about, best business practices, all this kind of thing. We're seeking to level everybody up. I think a rising tide raises all boats in that respect. And the most successful among us, and it's not just us, there's many amazing other companies out there, both large and small, in this arena right now. I think that they'll all appreciate, just as we do, kind of what we're trying to create as a more normalized and legitimate relationship with the general public or the lawmakers that affect us. So
How many partners do you have in Bloom?
I'm not actually a Bloom owner. I am an employee, just to be clear about that.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. But Bloom was started by three childhood friends from St. Louis that moved out here about 12, 13 years ago, maybe. At least the first step, I believe. And then, what started as a small scale delivery service in a medical market, Bloom put into this much more established and large provider and brand across the state. And so the three partners are sort of the main contingent, I guess, on the executive team.
We're out. Cool. So the last question, because we're going just a little over, but that's okay. It's my show. I can do that.
You bet.
What everybody gets this question. It's kind of the big shot at the end. What one piece of advice would you give an entrepreneur, a startup, or a business owner that's struggling a little bit to keep their head above water?
Oh man, it's gonna sound so cliche, Jeff, but I'd say just stick with it. It's grit. Um, the last decade, it's that old sort of adage or axiomatic sort of an overnight success that took 10 years or whatever, to build. And no, I'm not necessarily claiming I've arrived in any sort of way, but certainly any success that I've found both during that journey and certainly now, primarily has everything to do with grit and stick to itiveness. Keep your head down. Don't listen to the haters, and try to believe your own hype. Grinding, that's eat the elephant one bite at a time. They could use 1,000 different metaphors here, but
Wow.
that's what I'd say.
Oh, I like that. Don't listen to the haters. That's probably the big takeaway is um, I like that a lot. Well, Andy, can't thank you enough for spending 15 to 18 minutes with me and sharing part of your story with the folks that get a chance to watch the show. And for all those that are watching the show, thanks for joining Navigating to Success. I look forward to the next episode where business journeys are explored. So everybody have a fantastic day and do your best.